Nice. A lot of us have already joined. So, welcome everyone to my very first webinar. I'm very excited to see you all here. I think we can wait for another minute, maybe, Alina, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's good.
And while we wait, I would like to introduce you to Alina, who is my wonderful colleague. She is an amazing web designer, and we've been working together for quite some while, so she'll be helping me kind of assisting me to manage the webinar and comments and all the technical things today. So thank you, Alina, for being here. Just a couple of house rules. We are keeping everybody on mute so that there are quite a few of you. Actually, this webinar is oversubscribed, so there are over 100 people who subscribed. So just to keep things in order, we decided to keep everybody on a mute. And if you have any questions during the presentation or after it, please write your questions in the comments section, and I will try to answer as many comments as possible as we go. Okay. Anything else, Alina? I guess we can start, right?
I think we're good to go, yeah.
Awesome. All right then. So let me get going. You can see my screen fine. Is that all right? Perfect. Thank you. So, again, the big question, how to raise money from VCs in 2026. I have put together the fundable playbook, as I call it, to help you guys understand like what to do, what not to do, common mistakes that I see founders make every single day from those that I work with. So I hope that this presentation is going to shed some light for those of you who are founders and who are actually planning to raise within the next 6 to 12 months. Quick question, actually, how many of you are planning to fundraise within the next 6 to 12 months? Just say me in the comments if you are, just to so I can get like a little bit of an overview of how many of you are looking for investors this year or next year. And what do we have? Yeah, okay. There are quite a few of you. Okay. Well, good to know. Good to know. So I hope that this presentation is going to help you understand the ins and outs of how fundraising has shifted, most importantly, within the last 5-6 years. A few things about me. So my name is Sibila Strupole. I've been a tech entrepreneur for the last 11 years. I've moved 6 countries. Currently, I'm back home in Latvia, so that's where I'm ringing in from today. Altogether, I've built 4 companies, actually. One of them exited in 2018. And I've also been quite lucky to be featured on media outlets such as Forbes, the Financial Times, and worked with the UN, World Bank, and Visa, among other large institutions. So at this point, I'm pretty sure that I have helped or I have trained well over 500 founders, and together I've helped them raise over 70 million euros for their own startups. So yeah, right now I'm basically focused entirely on helping other founders succeed. That is my passion for life, and I want to see as many of you succeed and win in the founding game as much as possible. So that's why we're all here today. So that being said, as every nice presentation, opera, or a theater play, there are acts to everything, right? So today we're going to go through 5. I'm going to walk you through quickly through the 2026 reality check and the basic things and shifts that have happened within the last 5 or so years. Then we're going to go through the ladder of proof, which I have created as a 7-level diagnostic to understand where you are and where you actually need to be in order to be interesting to investors. Then we're going to go through my fundable playbook, basically 5 phases, how to prepare for investor outreach, like what you need to have done before you do. Then we'll go through how the meeting actually happens and what to expect, what to do, what not to do, and how to actually close the investor. Then very, very important, something that I hope many of you already have heard about or have mastered is the 90-second opener, or otherwise known as the elevator pitch. So this is basically the structure that you need to understand, that you need to master in order to present yourself to anybody. This doesn't only apply to investors, it applies to any person at any networking event that you meet. Like, you need to be able to say very quickly who you are, what you do, and why you do in 90 seconds. And then last but not least, the fun part. What are the things that kill investment rounds in 2026? What are the most common mistakes that founders do, that I see founders unfortunately do every single week, every single day when I work with them? So we will go through all of those things, and hopefully that helps you shed some light on how to work, how to approach investors. Now, first things first, this is an important slide to understand. This is an important reality check, I would say, because I see a lot of founders still treat fundraising like they would like 5 or 6 years ago, but everything has literally shifted. You cannot expect to have the same results as you did in 2020. So basically what happened in 2020, 2021, even up to 2022, the pre-seed median was around 250,000 euros. And I remember that time very well. It was quite, I want to say not, I can't say it was super easy, but it was way easier to get the first check from investors with just a pure idea. Just a pure idea and a decent team that is legit, that has good experience, good backgrounds that are relevant to whatever you're building. That was possible. Okay, so a pre-seed of 250K with just a pitch deck, just an idea, zero traction, zero customers, nothing like that, you could get the funding. Those days are gone. Those days are very much gone. And right now, what we see as the first deal flow, as the median amount, more or less, is around 1 million euros. Okay. So, what used to look like Series A money around 1 million in 2020 is now basically the pre-seed money that you can look at, that you can hope to raise. Now, some of you might think that, okay, that's great news, there's more money, like we can raise more. But that's not necessarily the truth, because the market has shifted. Pre-seed looks like the Series A basically used to look like. So it's not that just the check that you can go for got bigger, the bar got a lot higher. So you need to plan accordingly. And what you need to plan for is having traction to prove. Now, the other reality check here is that you should not give up before you have pitched to at least 100 to 200 investors. Like, they see thousands of pitch decks like every year, and very, very few actually get funded. And I really want to suggest you to treat fundraising as a sales funnel. You just have to have like a big pool of investors that are, obviously, they have to be relevant to what you do. They need to be investing in similar companies like yours. So I would not, tell somebody who's building an e-commerce to go and approach a deep tech investor who only funds biotech. So you need to do your homework, but do the homework well. And the more qualified investors you can approach with a good offer, the better. Okay. And it is going to take months. It is not going to be quick. It's not going to be easy. You need to build the list, and you have to track what you're doing. Okay. And very important, if you get a no, and you will, ask them why. it's very, very important to ask for feedback. So ask them why and just don't get discouraged. Learn what you need to learn, iterate, and just keep going. So what I already touched upon, we are seeing bigger rounds than we did like 5, 6 years ago. But the bar is also a lot higher. Okay, so these are some average numbers for the median pre-seed that I already showed you, seed and Series A, versus what it looked like in 2020. The time to close, I would say, like this time to close, 6 to 9 months, that's a very conservative time to close because oftentimes it takes a year and even more. When in 2020, it was a different investment scene, it was a different market, it was a different time. And I did see fairly many companies, fairly many startups actually close their rounds even within 3 months. But again, those times are gone. Now the bar is much higher. You need to have more traction, more proof. And if you do, then of course you can raise more money as well as your first round. So fewer checks, but higher checks, higher amounts means higher requirements. Okay. So your team has to be proven. You have to prove that you can move fast. You have to be prepared for tough questions. You have to be prepared to show real numbers, not made up numbers, not some 5-year-old woohoo, made up potential $1 billion traction revenue in 5 years' time. You need to be confident that you are the right person to win this. You have to show confidence, you have to show traction, and like you really have to have a tough skin. You need to be ready to answer all the tough questions that are going to come your way because that is the reality that we live in. Another important part that I really, really need you guys to understand, because I see this mistake happen a lot, is that you try to sell your product to investors. And that's completely the other way around of what you should be doing. Okay. You need to very well be able to separate your product from your company because investors are buying a part of your company. They're not buying your product. They're not buying your idea. Okay. Or how much you hustle, how much you work. Investors, first of all, even angel investors, they are not doing charity. They're not doing charity. The investor's job is to buy into a company that's going to make them a lot of money. A lot of money, okay? 100x, 1000x, whatever. But when you treat investor pitch as a sales pitch for your product, you're completely missing the part because investors want to buy into an engine. They want to buy into a system that works, that all the pieces are working, like it fits like a puzzle. Like they have to be able to see, no matter what your product is, it honestly doesn't matter, but the investor has to see exactly how. They have to have the conviction that in 5 years, 3 to 5 years time, they will at least 100x their investment in your company. Okay. So again, investors are buying a part of your company, and treat your investor pitch exactly as that. This is probably my favorite slide of the deck today. Somebody actually sent this to me a few days ago on LinkedIn, or commented on one of my LinkedIn posts. I'm sure that a lot of you have this slide in your deck. And I'm also sure that some of you have made the same mistake that you see here on this slide, comparing a Rolex with their very special frog watch, where like the competitor gets all the red crosses, so everything is basically terrible, but you get all the nice ticks, like all the green passes, like, so obviously your product is so much superior than, I don't know, maybe a B2B SaaS product that has been around for 10 years and has like millions and millions of customers. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Okay. The way to think about this competition slide is, first of all, of course you need to have it. Of course you need to be able to explain who else is competing in your market. But like, just like trying to put another product down, even though they're already successful and they already have been in the market for years, it just looks stupid, honestly. It doesn't look like you have done your homework. It doesn't look like you understand who you're competing against. And you need to be able to somehow explain in simple words that, where are you different? Like you need to explain that we are not competing against Rolex in this case, right? Because obviously it also tells time. It is not affordable. So we are. It is, maybe another niche that you are not serving, and you have found a specific niche that is underserved exactly with your product. So you're not going up against the big guys necessarily. You need to be able to explain it. But just please refrain from making these slides where you are all in the green and the competitors are all in the wrong or in the red X zone, right? Because investors are not stupid. Like, they want to understand who you are, what you know, and how well you have done your research. Now, the letter of proof, there is, like, if you Google the letter of proof, it's by NFX, like this VC. So it's kind of like they have made a ladder of, I don't know, 25 steps probably, where you are, find where you are and where you need to go. Like, what is the first step where you need to be as a startup founder with your startup, and then kind of like 25 other steps of like how to get to the top or how to become fundable and move through the stages of your company. I decided to make it a bit shorter, so I cut it down to my idea of 7 steps that you need to have in order to be fundable. And also, according to my fundable framework, basically, I have also divided them between timing, traction, and team, which are the 3 T's that you absolutely have to focus on if you're trying to fundraise. Okay. So basically, we start by having the right team and the market. That's number 1 here at the bottom of the ladder. You need to understand what is the problem you're solving. You need to prove that somehow you are the right person and your team is the right team and have all of the complementary skills to tackle this big problem and this big market. Okay. Very, very important, because if you're pre-seed or seed stage, then the investors are betting on you. Okay. They're betting on you more than they are betting on the future of your company. So if they don't have a full trust that you are the right founder, or you have the right team to execute, to really bring them the 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 extra return on the money that they're putting in your company, they're simply going to stop with that already. And for those, like, I get this question a lot, for those who are first-time founders, okay, you might not have a lot of a great background. You might not have like 10 or 15 years of industry experience. How you fix that in this case is you put together an advisory board with very experienced people, with mentors who can help you, who can guide you through your journey. Okay. But you absolutely have to have the right team, explain why you're the right team for the market that you're tackling. And if you're lacking some experience, definitely make an advisory board of experienced people so that the investors see that you have the backup, that you have the right people on board. Working product and shipping speed as second step, very, very, very important. Before it's perfect, you just need to ship it. And right now, shipping, building products has become a lot cheaper, a lot easier. You no longer have to, sell a kidney to pay a full stack developer to build your prototype. You have AI, you have all the tools you need, just build and ship it and get feedback very quickly from customers, from real potential customers. Don't iterate a million times before you actually know that you are solving a big problem that people want solved. Which brings me to number 3, pilots, LOIs, active users. If you're not already commercial, if you're not already selling, then you absolutely have to show some sort of traction to investors. You need to sign pilots. You have to have LOIs or letters of intent from potential customers who basically say, like, it is LOI and a letter of intent is not legally binding. Okay, it doesn't mean that the potential customer is going to have to absolutely buy your product when it's ready, but it shows intent. Okay, so if you find a decent amount of potential customers who are okay to sign this small one-pager paper saying, like, when company XYZ is ready with their product in the market, we are super interested because this is solving a big problem for us and we want to be a part of it. Okay. If there's a free tier to your product, just work on getting active users on the platform as soon as you can. The more, the merrier. This is insanely important. Again, in 2026, you have to have traction. You have to show everything you can. Moving up, obviously, from that initial part to paying customers and retention. Retention is the important word here. Okay. A lot of companies get a customer who pays one time for one cheap product and never returns. The real money is in the retention or in the renewal. Customers who keep coming back to you, customers who keep returning. Lifetime value of your customer is what investors want to see. Okay. You have to work on making the customers happy, and you do that by actually solving their problems. Now, next part, numbers that actually work at scale. You need to prove that customers, basically, that you can scale the numbers indefinitely. You cannot convince an investor with 50 paying customers that you need to be able to convince those 50 customers are going to turn into 500, then to 5,000, then to 50,000. You need to understand, like, how to get to those numbers that the investors actually want to see. No matter if you have 5 customers, maybe you have to have it worked out, and you need to be able to explain how are you going to scale, how are you going to expand the market, get into new markets or geographies. You need to have that on your deck. You need to have that ready to explain to any investor that you talk to. Now, a repeatable growth channel, this is distribution as well. Like, you need to know which channels are you going to use for distribution. Distribution is the hardest thing to do in 2026. Building a product is cheap, it's easy, but building a systematic growth channel, building a distribution system that works on your favor is not that easy. Okay. And in order for you to be investable, you need to understand the unit economics. You need to understand how to grow your community, how to grow the number of your customers, and how to make the customer acquisition cost as low as possible as you grow. Okay. So yeah, last but not least, rapid defensible growth. You need to be able to show compounding metrics. You need to show the distribution channels, the network effects, okay? And if you can, the investors are going to chase you. It's not going to be the other way around, I promise you, because I've been there, done that, and this is just how it works. Now, moving on to the ladder of proof. So this is some examples of where you might think you are and where investors actually put you. You could say we have early traction. What does that mean? The investor here is, okay, they maybe have a few pilots. There's no revenue yet. Customers love us. Okay, do they love you? Where's the numbers? Show me. You have to be able to put your money where the mouth is in a way. You need to show, if you make a claim, you better be ready to back it with numbers. We're at the seed stage. Well, maybe not. You're at pre-seed if there's nothing you can prove for traction. So just don't rename pre-seed to seed. If there's very little traction, then probably it's not seed yet. Another one, the market is huge. I see this all the time. Every single day I see some version of the wording like this, or the total addressable market of, like, I don't know, 200 billion. You can put those numbers as many as you want, but it doesn't give any proof as to why you're going to enter that market, as to why you're going to actually be able to win it. What is your strategy? What are your how does your acquisition work? Where is the scalability in your model? Okay, you need to be basically able to have an answer to these are real questions that investors do ask, and they will ask if you come with wording like this without any numbers to back it up. So your job is to make sure that the deal closes, and that the deal will close only when those two columns of what the investors think about you and where you think you are, when they actually collide, when they match. Here's a few more. We have a product market fit. Okay, do you really? Where are the numbers that prove that? How can you prove your product market fit at pre-seed? You basically cannot. You need to have the compounding numbers. You have to show the network effect. You have to show repeat customers, lifetime value of customers that return, not just once, but many times. Okay, you need to show growing revenue numbers from where you started to where you are today. Okay, so you can't just say it's growing fast. How is it growing? By how much? What is the monthly growth rate that you have? What is your annual recurring revenue? Capital efficient, another thing. Like, a lot of people like to throw these words around because, oh, it's so cheap to build. We use, like, I don't know, 20 tools, 20 AI tools that are free or freemium, and it's very easy. We don't need to hire a lot of people, so we're capital efficient. Okay, but how long is this money going to last? And how much money have you calculated that you need in order to get to the next stage, or to get to the break-even point where you start making money and stop losing money? You need to have these answers. You need to have the alignment for your story. And alignment happens when you can actually prove your words with numbers. That's the only way to get investors interested in you. Okay, so no vagueness. Now, my signature framework: traction, timing, team. These are the 3 T's that I want you to memorize, that I want you to screenshot either right now on your computer, or just write it down and remember. Traction, timing, and team. These are the 3 things that will get you funded. Okay, if there's nothing else you focus on, if you really, really, really focus on traction, on timing, and the team, you will get funded. I can promise you that. Instead of focusing on building new tools, building new features all the time that nobody needs, go out and sell to the customers. Make sure that they agree with you that what you have is what they need. And if it's not, then you need to fix it. Okay, but until you have proof from your actual customers and you have real revenue, you need to understand what you need to get, what needs to be done until you can show proof of that traction, that you actually have a chance at the market. You need to show real revenue. You need to show people who stick with you, with your product, who keep paying. Okay, and the sooner you can start gathering those numbers, the better position you're going to be when you speak to investors. Another important part about the timing is you have to be able to see or spot what is happening in your market that you're in. And this brings me back to the competition slide. Why is this the right time for you to move forward with your product? What is shifting? What is the legal background? Let's say, for instance, like if you're working on something that is tied to, I don't know, European regulation, why is this the right time for you to take the market? A very important part to be able to explain. And of course, the team, as already mentioned, team is the most important part of your deck, I would say. You need to be able to explain what in your background and what in every single person's background on your team is the winning thing. Why are you the winning team? Why is it you, the best people who are going to, make this revolution in the market that you're tackling? And again, if you are missing experience, make sure that you have good advisors on the board with real names, with real good reputation, that can back you in whatever you're doing and help you actually steer the wheel when you're very early stage and not sure what to do next. Traction is king. Product is cheap. And proof is absolutely everything. Okay. Um, Again, traction, traction, traction. Stop building, start selling. Sell before you build, if you can, is the best way forward. You need to make sure that you are not working on ideas, but you're working on problems. Find your problem. Find what is the painful problem that people are going to pay you to fix. That is your only job. Only then you start thinking, okay, what features do we need? How do we build this platform? How is it actually going to work? What is the user journey? All those things don't matter at all if you are not solving a problem that is painful enough for people, for many people, thousands or millions of people, to pay you to fix. And you can only prove that by talking to people, going out to the market, and asking questions. Is this a problem? Do you need help fixing it? Do you think that this could be the solution? Traction is the only thing that investors like. If we take everything else away, like, you need to have traction. This is the number one thing that investors are looking for right now. Build the answer before the question comes from the investors. Okay. So again, this is an important slide. Take a screenshot, write it down. Remember what you need to have, what you need to deliver to the investors to have a chance at fundraising in 2026 and beyond. So 10 to 14 slide deck. Every once in a while, somebody sends me a deck that has 30 slides and even even more, 30 slides and an appendix with some additional, I don't know what, additional explanations. Don't do that. Nobody has time. The people's attention span is like 7 seconds at first, like 7 seconds of talking to you, 7 seconds of reading your looking at your deck, reading your email. You have to understand that, especially investors, VCs are incredibly busy people that don't have time or interest to swim through the sea of your slides to understand what it is that you're doing. The point is that if you cannot say what you do in 90 seconds, then probably your slide deck is going to be a mess. Like, that's just how it always works. So take it down to 90 seconds and then build the slide deck slide by slide. 10 to 14 slides are, or even less, is more than enough to answer what is the problem you're solving, what is your solution, why is it the right time to solve it right now, why are you the best team to tackle it, okay? Why are you the founder? What is your story? What is the one sentence that you can say to anybody to understand that you are passionate for this, that you are passionate for the problem, you want to solve it, and you have a backstory or you have relevant experience? Now, the third part is the financial plan. Um, when you're pre-seed or seed, financial plans are basically made up, especially the 5-year ones. So don't waste time on coming up with random numbers that you have literally no idea if, like, how far they are from the truth. And the truth is that 90% of the time they're completely wrong. But so you will edit it as you go. Of course, like before you've even started selling, these things are going to change. The financials are going to change. There might be pivots, there might be shifts, but you should try or aim to be realistic for the year one at least. Okay. You need to be somewhat realistic with what you can achieve with the distribution channels that you have or that you have in mind. Try to be realistic. Don't dream up, like, don't start talking about, I don't know, tens of millions in year one, because that will just make you look incompetent in any investor's eyes. Now, document folder, this is very important. If you're preparing to fundraise, you need to have everything in order. You have to keep your documents in one place. You need to have the contracts. You need to have the letters of intent. You need to prove your ownership. If there is anything related to IP, be ready to have it noted down, ready to share with investors, because that's very, very important. That is like your proof. And another thing that I really, really recommend you to do is to build like a list of FAQ questions that investors have asked you. And typically those questions are the same. Like, they don't vary that much. Like, you will see when you start talking to investors, fairly similar questions are going to arise. Okay. And what to stop doing. Yeah, don't pitch while you don't have the deck done. Like, just don't do it, because you're going to start blabbing right and left and right, and like you will not have clarity. You need to have a nice concise pitch deck before you're ready to actually go out and talk to investors. So make sure that these 10 to 14 slides are perfect, that everything is there, everything is explained, the traction, the proof, the problem, the solution, the team, everything has to be spot on. Because if it's not, then it means that you don't have clarity for your own pitch. And then if you don't have that clarity, if you're not capable of making a good deck and explain your story and what you do in 10 to 14 slides, and if you're not able to do the elevator pitch in 90 seconds, then nobody's going to understand what you do and even less be interested. This is another thing I would recommend you to screenshot or write down. So 4 lines, not more. This is everything you need to have to send to an investor. This is the perfect, let's say, first email when you're reaching out to investors. Okay, start with a number. That has to be a big number. That can be revenue, retention, your growth rate, your commercial partners, your distribution channels, whatever it is, but it has to be a real number and an impressive number, something that you are proud of achieving. Okay. Moving on to the next sentence. Why you? Specifically, what you have experienced, what you have built before, who do you know, who's in your network, who can help you with the distribution, let's say. Number 3, very important. Again, you have to have done your homework. Why are you reaching out to this fund specifically? Are they backing similar companies to yours? Have they invested in something that, maybe they recently invested in your geography in a similar industry company? Or basically, you need to understand why you're reaching out to them, because again, if you're building an e-commerce platform, like, do not bother the deep tech investors. They don't care about you. They have a completely different focus. Like, investors always have a focus on the stage they invest, on the industry that they back, in the geography sometimes as well. So make sure that you are not just like shooting random messages to hundreds of investors that have nothing to do with your industry. And then again, the ask. You have to always finish with the ask. Like, what do you want from them? Do you want 15, 20-minute quick call? Give them a couple of options, 1 and 2, which one works? Happy to jump on a quick call. And attach your deck, if they have time, if they're interested, they'll look at it. If not, then they will not. So you don't lose a lot. Now, investor meetings, they're basically the same shape, typically. Very important is the opener, which we already just looked at in the form of an email, but that's basically the same thing. You need to be able to say in one sentence, what do you do? Why now? Why is the timing important right now? And you need to be able to give at least one number that proves that you have some sort of traction, that you're not completely working on something that nobody cares about. Number 2, so in the next part of the meeting is your substance. Okay. Walk through the traction, show them what you have. Like, show, don't tell. Like, I always tell founders to show if they have a prototype, if they have a working MVP. The first thing you have, show either like a live demo, or show a pre-recorded video also works, or show like real screens. Like, the best thing is the live thing, obviously. And if you have real customers, then you have to talk about it. You have to mention, okay. Yes, and then you need to let them ask questions. Don't keep blabbing. Don't keep talking, trying to talk your way out of them asking questions. Pause a little bit. Stop for a while. Let the investor come with questions, because that's actually what you want. Okay. You need to show proof that you have built something valuable, and then you need to be ready to answer any questions they might have. And those questions might be difficult. So mind you, what we just covered before, have your FAQ ready. 20 frequently asked questions from investors. Keep it, reread it before every meeting, so that you are prepared. And again, so the next part is the closing. So what is their process? Who else do you need to meet if they're interested, to continue the conversation? And I always like to ask investors, what would have to be true for this to be a yes, for you to make the decision to invest in me? What is missing, or what do you want to see for you to make this decision? Another important part, your deal is not done with having a term sheet sent to you by the investors. It's only done at your wire transfer. So very, very, very important. You need to treat this as a process. You need to understand that it will take a long time. It will take months. And any investor can drop you even after they have sent you a term sheet for the fundraising. Yeah. So you need to set a date when you're fundraising for all term sheets. Okay, we are accepting term sheets by, I don't know, May 15th. That's it. Because scarcity creates urgency, even for investors. If you tell them, oh, we might finish in July or August, not sure, we'll see how it goes. No, you need to commit to a date. This is the last date when we accept term sheets from all investors. Very important. Nobody wants to invest alone. I mean, sometimes they do, but typically when you're early stage, pre-seed, seed, you will have multiple investors that you speak with, and they will co-invest. So make sure that you have all the soft commitments, all the term sheets before you speak to other investors. That just gives them credibility, that just gives them clarity that you're not desperate, you're not running after any investor, that you already have a pool of investors that have shown some interest or sent you some term sheets. If you can, the more the better, because it will make the decision easier, especially if you're looking for a lead investor. You need to have the follow up, like the followers, the other investors who are potentially not leading, but who have said, okay, if you find the lead, then we will invest. Definitely remember to negotiate 3 things: what your company is worth. This will be tied to your traction directly. So if you're pre-revenue, I really want to tell you to please get to some point of traction before you go speak to investors, because otherwise your valuation is going to be very, very low. Okay. Board, very important. Look at your advisory board. Who are the people that bring credibility to your industry and to your product? Discuss the potential to invest in the next round. Are they potentially following in the next round? Are they leading the next round? Just discuss all of these things with the investors. It's super important to be clear on the valuation, on who is on your board already and who might potentially join from their side, because sometimes lead investors specifically want somebody to actually be added to your board. You need to know if this is going to work for you and for them or not, and investing in the next round. The other things are, basically not that important. Another one that I want you to remember, the 90-second opener or the elevator pitch. So 6 lines, 90 seconds. Be very clear. Context, why now, insight, proof, and why you. And what is your ask? Okay. Take a picture, take a screenshot of this, and this you absolutely must nail. You absolutely must nail. This is what you need to know. This is what you need to be able to deliver, to say in 6 lines when you wake up at 3 a.m. to anybody. This is what you have to be able to do, because this is like how you begin a conversation. This is your icebreaker. This is your elevator pitch. When you walk inside an elevator with an investor, or if you meet an investor at like any busy event, they don't have a lot of time for you. They have 90 seconds max, and you have to impress them, and you have to be very clear on who you are and what you're doing and what you're looking for. Okay, so remember this one. How it sounds in real life, here's a real example from my previous company that actually exited. So context, Aglos is the Airbnb of boats for travelers without a skipper's license. Very clear, right? Why now? Airbnb and rideshare proved people will trust strangers' assets. So we started with Airbnb and houses, and boats are next. That's what we believe in. Insight, most boat rentals make you bring a license for the boat. We bring the skipper, and we add a real human experience by basically not making you go through an agency. Proof of traction, very important. 500 over 500 bookings before raising a single euro. That was actually the truth in 2015. YU, two of the founders were basically born on boats in Venice, so they know the industry inside out. Professional skippers who watched Airbnb take a category, and now we're building the next one. And the ask, we're raising 1.5 million euros to scale across the Mediterranean. Very clear, very easy. Top three deal killers. You're not the right founder. This is something we already touched upon. Investors want to back people who understand the problem they're solving and who can prove with their background that they understand it. So if you're not able to prove that you're that person, at least have something relevant that you have in your background that you can say that is going to benefit the company, and have a very strong advisory board that does have the industry experience that you might be lacking. Also, very important to know what you're raising for what. Okay, you need to have a plan that fits the amount of money that you are looking for. And number three, unfortunately, this is the biggest one that I see constantly. No proof, no traction, nothing to show. And this is where everything falls. Like, this is where your pitch deck dies. If you have only a vision with no numbers, you have a hobby, and that's not a business. Every investor wants to see the real users, the real revenue potential, real retention numbers, even at pre-seed. We are not in 2020 anymore. You need proof and you need traction, or you will have no round. That's the truth. So moving into quickly the Q&A part of this session. Munir, I think he's actually with us today. So this is like one of the most beautiful feedbacks I have received so far from my customers. Like I said, I really, really enjoy working with amazing founders. Munir is exactly like that. He is building EntreBuild AI to basically revolutionize how SME founders, how small business owners are finding documents and working with the documents. Everything is in one place. He's building basically a platform for document management. And yeah, we worked together on his pitch deck, and I was very, very happy to be able to help him and to have a continuous customer relationship with him. If you're looking for more feedback from the people, from the founders that I worked with, it's on my website. Yeah, before we go into the Q&A, I want to let you all know that today I am giving everyone who's on this call a special offer to basically save 20% on my pitch deck review product, which is basically a one-on-one full analysis. You upload your deck, I receive it, and I write a slide by slide analysis. I basically dissect everything that's in your deck. I tell you what I think is right, what I think is wrong, what I think should change. So basically you will have, it's basically typically a 5 to 10 page long written analysis. And this is everybody's offer today, only until the 1st of May. So you only have today, tomorrow, and Friday to use this code at checkout for my pitch review service. So make sure that you make use of it for those to whom this is relevant. Yeah, so this is the code. You just like write it up on checkout on my website, sibilastrupula.com. And I will look forward to see your decks and help you move forward. So I guess now I will stop sharing my screen. Are we back?
Yeah, you're good.
Awesome. Great. So we have a few minutes for some Q&A. How's it been going, Elena?
We have 3 questions so far.
Okay, great.
So first it's about if you can name some of the key differences with fundraising in Europe versus the United States.
Key differences. European investors, great question, by the way, thank you. European investors are typically, historically speaking, way more conservative. They want to see a lot more traction and a lot more proof before they make the investment. So yeah, they're a bit more I mean, not a bit, a lot more conservative than American investors. Typically speaking, historically, it's always been like that. Another thing that is a differentiator for sure is that the checks are bigger in the U.S. Unfortunately, the round sizes are always bigger in the US, so that's something you need to keep in mind. In addition to the fact that the risk appetite is also much higher in the US. So, and it's a big market. You know, Europe is. You have to understand that we are not at an advantage in Europe in one way or another because the USA is a huge market, and it's not like it's not the country divided. It's not the continent divided in many different countries, many different legislations. Right now, something called the EU.Inc. is actually being passed through the European Commission, and hopefully it's going to work. And hopefully we will have this one legislation for all European tech companies to build like one company that has the same set of rules. So it will not be like in Latvia, we have one taxation and legislation. In Germany, we have another one. In Spain, something completely different, which is how it is right now, and which also kind of doesn't make European companies attractive to American investors in a lot of cases. So I do hope that this will be set into motion, and that's something that's coming. That's coming for us. Yeah. And another thing, American investors typically don't want to invest in you unless you're incorporated in the US, at least a Delaware Corp. So a few things to keep in mind. So thank you, Petra.
And then we have a question, how do deep tech companies that need to buy historical data, for example, get funding without traction, or what would be their traction?
Okay, talking about deep tech. Deep tech is difficult. Deep tech is different because deep tech typically has much longer lead times. And I understand like deep tech basically is typically something with scientific backing that is patentable potentially. A lot of times, deep tech is a spin out from scientific universities and innovation research. So deep techs, I typically tend to suggest to deep techs to look at grant funding because that is like the institutional investors and private investors are not ready for the deep tech lead time, right? Because if you're working in something that is groundbreaking, I don't know, health tech or biotech, something that is very research heavy that you have to spend, I don't know, 3 years just to get to like some sort of starting point, like who will fund these 3 extra years? Because typically investors want results, and they want to see traction immediately, right? But in deep tech case, when you're building something scientifically heavy, I always suggest founders to look at grant options. So zero equity grants, meaning you can get state funding or European funding. In Europe, I actually collaborate with the European Innovation Council, or EIC for short. There's also EIT. I mean, there's tons of deep tech initiatives on a European level, and in some countries, not in all countries, also on a national level. So if you're in the deep tech boat, then I would strongly suggest you look at the soft funding, or basically zero equity grant options. That means that you get free money. It is a bit of a process. There is also, if you're talking about the European grant schemes, there's a lot of bureaucracy. It takes a long time to apply, and there's a lot of competition. So be prepared for that. But I would definitely look into that because pre-revenue, pre-traction deep tech and VCs or angels on the other side is going to be very, very difficult. Yeah, or start with something small, you know, figure out what part of the big dream of the big deep tech that you're building you can start with commercializing and take it to market. Or at least get some traction in terms of like pilots and prove that you have something that works, even if that's not the full scale of what you want to build.
Great. There's another question about traction, actually. Linda says, I understand that what you're saying about traction, but is there a possibility to get any money before I have any buying clients? And if so, then what is it?
Um, is there a possibility to get any money before I have any buying clients? Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, don't quit your job. So that's how you get money. Don't quit your day job before you have buyers for whatever you're building. That would be the first solution for anybody that's actually building something and doesn't have the money yet. Like, don't get yourself homeless. Don't get your, like, everybody needs to pay the bills and have food to eat, right? So just don't cut the branch that you're sitting on before you have to. It's difficult, obviously, to have a full-time job while you're trying to build a company, but yeah, just there's no reason to make that leap before you have proved that you're ready to do it, right? So just don't do crazy things, and don't quit your job before you have paying customers and you know that you can afford your lifestyle and you're not going to become homeless. That's one thing. And the other thing is what I already mentioned. Look at grant schemes, look at grant support, state support, European funding schemas. Like, those are all things that you can also look into. Typically, that is more tailored to deep techs, or that is tailored to scientific innovation that can change the whole industry for Europe, let's say. And there's programs in the US as well. And yeah, and then another thing, the third thing I would say is corporate funding. If you're building something B2B that a big corporate, a big company needs, they might be interested in investing you or building some collaboration with you to basically support you in building this innovation, if that's something that will help this big company grow faster or iterate, build better. So definitely worth talking to corporates as well. Anything else?
Yes, we actually still have quite a few.
Oh, wow.
So Don asks if you have any template or framework for tracing that investor sales pipeline.
Uh, Great question. Template or framework. I've been typically doing it manually, like at first on Excel sheet, and just like kind of like having a template for first email, second email, and third email, like with the follow-ups, like I don't know, with like 5 to 7 days between each email. I mean, you can do that on any CRM system and set up reminders, or just use a simple Excel sheet. It's not that difficult, I would say. Just like make sure that you have short and concise, like email, follow-up emails, and then either whatever you're using. There are lots of CRM systems that are free or almost like free, cheap, that exist right now, that you can try. And if not, then just like keep track of whoever you are contacting on a simple Excel sheet. That's, nothing groundbreaking. And framework, I already showed you the framework for actually going, like what needs to happen to go to these investors. I think that's the most important. How you talk to them or how you continue the conversation, that will largely depend on your traction that you can show, honestly. So that's kind of like, a framework for tracking investor sales pipeline. That's I would reframe this question for how do you keep track and how do you show the right proof to investors? Like, that's the most important part that you need to be thinking about. And then everything else, whatever you use, an Excel sheet or a CRM, like that's up to you and your preference, how to track your investor pipeline, how often do you follow up, and who falls off or who moves to the next round. Like that's that. Yeah.
Then we have a question. What are the optimal strategies or extra questions or steps to be taken if the investor answers that they will follow in the next investment round?
I mean, that's fantastic. There's no additional steps or strategies to be taken into account. If you have an investor that has invested in you and they say that they will follow on the next round, you just need to keep them happy. I mean, you just need to deliver what you promised, ideally, or under promise and over deliver. Always a good strategy. And just, yeah, send them an update every month or so, and then you have the general assembly meetings, obviously, where the bigger investors are typically taking part. Just be open and honest with them, keep them in track with your progress, what is happening, what is going on a monthly basis. Just send. That's what I used to do, and what I typically do is like just send a quick email. Hey, this month we achieved XYZ, and we're on track on achieving this and this and this in like the next quarter.
Then there's another question comparing UK and EU. Elena says that some UK investors say don't send a deck with the four-liner message.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, it disappeared. Send a teaser instead. Is that different in EU?
What is a teaser? What is a teaser? Um, I don't know. Like, I mean, okay, so this is like you can look at it from different angles. Like, I've heard this too, and this is always going to be a subjective response, and it doesn't matter if it's EU, UK, or US. To be honest with you, as long as you get the teaser is these four lines. It's how you get their attention. 4 or 6 lines that I showed you in my framework. How do you get their attention? Why are you doing something that matters? What are the big numbers that you have achieved, or the number of customers, or your traction that you can show? Or what is your unique selling proposition? Why are you in a better position than everybody else? That is what you need to explain. That is what I would call the so-called teaser. um, I mean, I would say add the pitch deck, because that's just saving time. Because the point is that a lot of times the investor is not even going to click on it if he doesn't like the 4 to 6 lines that you sent, or if he's not even aligned to what industry you're serving. He's just not going to care. He's just going to take it, dump it in trash immediately. But if you do add the presentation deck to that first email, then what you're doing is actually saving time for this investor, so that they don't have to send you another email and say, hey, very interesting, can you please send the deck? Just send it already. Like, it's then it's up to the investor, if they are interested enough to look at it already or not, or if they want to have a short call first to learn more about what you're doing. So I say always send it, but again, everybody's different and people have different preferences.
Then I think we'll take the last two questions, if that's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're already over time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's a bit more concrete with numbers. If the project has around 1,000 users, but only 150 are active paying customers, is that considered significant traction, or do investors focus strictly on those paying right now?
Great question, Anton. First of all, it depends on a lot of things. I don't have enough context here. So I would say that it depends on what you're building. It depends on what you're charging. It also depends on the lifetime value of your active paying customers, and like what is the drop off rate? Like, okay, 150 are paying, but are they paying monthly subscriptions? Are they paying something once a year or once ever? Okay. So it really depends on what it is that you're building. It depends what you're charging these people and how many of them are returning customers, repeat customers. And yeah, 1,000 users, like, then also you need to be able to show how quickly or how many of these 1,000 users, at what rate can you turn them into paying customers? That's a very important question that any investor is going to ask you. So that's that. I mean, yeah, I don't have a lot of context, but sounds good that you have 1,000 users and 150 are active paying customers, but do they pay every month? How much do they pay? How many new users do you acquire per month? How many of these 1,000 and in what time frame can you switch from unpaid to paying users? All of these questions you have to be able to answer, and you also have to be able to show how are you going from 150 to 300 to 500 to 5,000 users, and in what time frame, and what is the money, what is the revenue, what is the money per customer that you are actually making on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis. And yeah, those are the real questions that you need to understand. So I cannot really tell you like if that's enough, if that's a lot, or if that's not a lot. It's good that you have that, but it really depends on the unit economics and how much it costs for you to acquire these customers, also on top of that.
Yeah, and final question. Can traction count as 100 letters of intent from companies that
Sure.
integrate?
Of course, absolutely it can. Absolutely. I mean, that's 100 letters of intent. That's impressive, actually. That's really good. If you're in B2B and you're building something that 100 business customers are willing to support, are willing to pay for whenever it's ready, amazing. Then that's basically your wait list of companies, and they have signed the letters of intent. That's fantastic traction. Absolutely, yes. So good job if you have that. Very good job. So, yeah, we're actually 8 minutes already over. I guess we should say thank you to everybody, and thank you for your feedback. Thank you for your questions. A lot of names here that I already know of. I'm very, very happy to see you all here, especially my customers. And yeah, let's keep in touch. Feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I post a lot of free content on there that I hope will be useful to all of you. There's also some free tools on my website that you can use. There's the investor scorecard that is like basically a self-assessment if how ready you are for investors. So you can go to sibilastrupula.com and find it there. I'm just going to put like it's in the comments. So this is my website. And yeah, for those who are ready for me to review your pitch deck, don't forget that you have this code to get your 20% off by the 1st of May. So yeah, thank you all very much. It was great fun. And Elena, thank you a million. Thank you a million. You saved me today.
Great to help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Munir. Good to see you. Hope it was useful. All right. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.